My name is Dr. Karambu Ringera. I come from Kenya. I work with International Peace Initiatives, which is an organization that I started in 2005 to actually work with women and children. And our focus is women living with HIV and AIDS and children who have lost their parents to HIV and AIDS. And I chose to work with those people in the beginning because in my community, women and children are the most vulnerable in times of disease, like how HIV and AIDS affects families and communities. In times of conflict and violence, it is women and children who suffer most. So I really wanted to create a space where women who really are struggling with HIV and AIDS at a time when there was no access to medication or it was very expensive, at a time when children were being left with very old, jobless grandparents and children just went to the streets. So really my work was to get children before they went to the streets. So we say that International Peace Initiatives work is to mitigate the impact of HIV and AIDS, violence and poverty as these affect women and children. And really our work is about inspiring people to understand their situation and to figure out what they really want to do about it themselves. So in my work, I don't go telling people, this is what I want to do for you. I ask the question, what do you want to do about your situation? And even with the children, we work with them to see that they're human beings, that the naming and marking that we've done in community of calling them orphans and things like that is really a marking to marginalize them. In my language, Kimeru, we don't have a name for an orphan because in my community, a child belongs to everybody. And so when I was growing up, if I made a mistake, any mother in the community could correct me. And that is lost today. And that has created a lot of cracks in the coherence that used to be there before in how we children were raised. So in my work, working with the women, and them coming to ask me what I can do for them, and then again coming and asking me where will their children go when they die, I said to them, first of all, they have to tell me what they want to do for themselves, and number two, for the second question, where their children will go when they die, I said, I don't know, I'm not God. Tell me what you want to do about that. And so we've worked with the women to create interventions that actually, or initiatives that actually enables them to create businesses. So they'll learn a skill like detergent making, jewelry making, tie and dye, and they will use these skills to create a business either as a group or individually. And then with the children, we created a home that they helped me build on a community piece of wasteland. And so when I started thinking about what is my work and what do I want to do, I recognized that my core is to work with wastelands, what I also call wastescapes. We talk of landscapes, so these are wastescapes, and they're in many forms. We have environmental, like the rocky grounds that they gave me. They gave me a community piece of land that was just rocky, that was just, no one wanted it. And looking at it, people didn't see what they could do with it. And then the women, most of the women, when they lost their husbands, they were evicted from their matrimonial homes. And so most of them were living in slum-like situations, jobless, ill also. And so the children, orphans, a lot of families were letting these children go to the streets. If your brother died of HIV and AIDS, your family chased away the wife and the children. And she had to figure out where to go. And sometimes they were chased with nothing, just because that extended family was interested in the land. Or the children themselves then, orphans with no one to look after them. But I also go further and recognize the wasteland of a society that has closed its eyes and heart to the plight of the marginalized in our communities. Even you have your own marginalized people in your community. And then I also look at individuals, like those brothers and sisters who will allow their relatives, their brothers, children to go on to the streets because they don't want to support them. And then there is the mental wasteland of people just living in boxes that they've created for themselves, thinking that when you send away these children, yours will flourish, as if these will take anything away from your own children. That's a wasteland, a state of mind that closes to recognizing that their plight is very closely linked to the plight of your children because they're cousins. So in the working then of reclaiming these forms of wastelands, the children's home that we built on that wasteland has become a coming together, a community center for talking about these things, and together as a community, talking about how do we reclaim these spaces together. In my community, there's a lot of drug abuse, alcohol and drug abuse, and this has translated into a lot of violence, both outside and within the families. And so we created a peace forum to bring together the community at this children's home, for the community to really talk about what they wanted to do about that situation. So reclaiming wasteland for me is a dialogue about people recognizing their situation and figuring what they want to do about it. Our education and the story of development teaches us that the best comes from outside. So we have the expert who comes and studies our situation and tells us, oh, this is what is wrong with you people, and this is what I bring to fix you. Our education teaches us how to prepare to become someone else's employee. And in this center, we are talking about taking development in our hands and to recognize this dependency mindset is a box that locks our strengths because we don't see them, because we want to see someone else's strengths. And someone else's strengths, as long as they're from outside and they are not grounded and rooted in the issues and the people that they are coming to fix, those strengths are always unrooted. And once the person goes, the tree falls very quickly, because any wind of challenge will just come and fell them. So in this center, we are speaking with ourselves to understand our issues and to work together to create solutions so that together we can create a resilient community and a society, a community that is self-reliant. So in the journey to reclaim our wastelands, personal, family, community, regional or national, or even global, I have created some principles and values that I am using to guide my work in doing this. And so RECLAIM for me is an acronym that stands for, the R stands for taking responsibility. To take responsibility is to create awareness, to understand, and to own. I am aware of my circumstances, I understand what needs to be done. I take ownership of that so that I can move forward with it. And if anything happens, anything goes wrong, I don't blame anyone else. It is mine. I have to figure it out. The E stands for empoweredness. I talked about working with women to build skills in them. I'm not talking about empowerment, I'm talking about empoweredness. And for me, empoweredness is both skill-led but also spiritual-led. Because if our people don't know who they are, even if you bring what to them, it will never heal their woundedness. So empoweredness is being in a state of grace, in a state of awareness, in a state of gratitude for what you have and what you can do with it. The C stands for courage. To be able to own my woundedness takes courage. To open my heart to the to break open that wound takes courage. So courage to be able to open, understand, and take that ownership. And the courage to move forward, to do what needs to be done, to dare do what needs to be done. The L stands for love and light. I tell people, no one is put anywhere in the world, no matter where the divine hasn't provided what is needed for you to survive there. Even in the desert, the eagle finds food. So do the people. Every one of us has that divine light and love and knowing in us that you can shine in a place for healing to take place. When we got this wasteland for a piece of land, that everybody was saying, oh, let's wait and see what they would do with this wasteland. I just got there and I felt love. I was washed with love. And this is what I gifted this place, or this is what the divine gifted this place. And today, wherever I come from, and I open the gate, I feel a landing, like a grounding, like an arriving, And it's beautiful because people also who come go back healed, rested, or whatever their issues were. Actually now, I think when I go back home, I'll start recording the stories that people share about what that space did for them. Just by coming. Some of them, I don't even talk to them, but they just say, when we come here, there's something, they just say there's something, So I have groups of people that every year now come, from Kenya even, they come because they find this home. It's that love and that light. So the L stands for love and light, which if and when we embody, really brings healing even to other people who may not be consciously aware of why this place gives them with that peacefulness. The A stands for adjustiveness. I don't talk about adapting, because to adapt to a situation is like, I find you here with all your stuff, and so I adapt to you, whether it is good for me or not. But adjustiveness is a flexibility, being reflexive, being able to dance with a situation. I say, when a river meets a rock on its way, it doesn't stop and say, what are you doing on my way? Get out of my way, or something like that. The river dances, the water dances with the rock by chipping it slowly but surely, or flowing around it or over it, or whatever the dance is going to be. And it moves on. So adjustiveness is aware of difficult and not so difficult circumstances in our lives, life is a dance. How do I dance with the circumstances of my life and recognize I will go to the other side. I will make it to the other side. The I stands for intuition. The divine wisdom, what we call gut instinct in each one of us. When our minds fail us, like they do a lot of the times, we have the gift of going still and listening to the intuition, to the divine wisdom in us, that then enables us to get the answers that we need. So intuition. The M stands for mindfulness. Mindfulness for me is being present in my life. I say some of us, or even me, before I learned how to be mindful, and I'm still working on it, just live life like whatever life offers is, you're not present in your life. But I, as much as possible, try to be present to understand what is happening right now. Why is it happening right now? What do I do with it right now? Being present in my life. So holding those tenets, then we reclaim the wastelands, whether they are personal, whether they are societal, whether they're of the mind. Holding those tenets, we do the work to reclaim our wastelands. So fundamentally, that has been the work of IPI. We started as a children's home. I thought I was working with the women, but really our work was about bringing community together so that together we can heal. And this now is transitioning into building an eco center, a space where we come to learn. Then, once we find ourselves, then understand who we are in relation to nature. Because we have a challenge with climate change, we have a problem with our soils now because of overcropping, using chemicals. We have issues with our waters that we can't drink anymore unless we boil them or stuff like that. And so we have the issue of food and GMOs. And for me, the thinking about GMOs is brought an image of a people who have no control of the food that they eat. Because currently, the seeds that come, when you plant them, the harvest that you get, you cannot store to plant in the next season. You must buy new seeds. You must buy them accompanied by the type of fertilizer and chemicals that they need, that are needed to go with that seed. And what is happening is that these seeds, when you grow the maize, for example, there's a maize seed that you grow now in our area, and even before you harvest, it has weevils. And so I started thinking, this seed cannot be replanted. You harvest it and it has weevils before you even harvest it. It means that you either have to put a lot of chemicals to store it or you sell it immediately. And with drought and climate change, it means that very soon people will be in a state of famine all the time. And what that reminded me of is the next terrain of slavery will be in the domain of food. Because if someone else determines what you're going to eat, how it is going to be packaged, in terms of packaging the seed itself in the chemicals that they're going to put into it so that it becomes a genetically modified organism, then people are in trouble. So my work then is transitioning into having a conversation with the community about going back to our old seeds that we could replant. Today in my area, it's very difficult to get the traditional maize seed that we used to plant, or beans, or black beans, things like that. The original banana plant that we used to plant, it's very difficult to get. And today, with these bananas that are growing very fast, if a little bit of disease comes, the whole lot of them die. So we are looking at how we can reclaim our traditional seeds also, have seed banks, start growing permaculturally, which is how people used to grow traditionally, really, although now it has been packaged again. It's called permaculture and it's being brought back to us. But that's how I remember we used to grow things with my grandmother. And this place where we used to go with my grandmother used to be called Tiriji. So I have named my eco center Tiriji, a place of remembering the abundance or the abundance that we used to enjoy before, and working with the community to grow our crops in that way, and to recognize that if something happens and she had planted maize and all the maize died or something like that, then someone else has got beans or millet or sorghum that they can share with this other person. So I'm creating a center where that is the learning that I'm cultivating now, and hoping to share it with my nation, actually, my country. Today, our leaders are actually looking west. They are emphasizing on education with technology and all that kind of thing. They are talking about building cities. In Kenya, they are thinking about building a Las Vegas. I'm like, this is not the way forward, it's really the way backwards. Because these systems in the West are not working anymore. But then those are the kinds of projects that have got a lot of money for corrupt leaders to actually pocket for themselves. So I feel my work now is leading to creating this center and then using it as a model that then we can share with other people. Because really, for me, the world is going to survive through creating communities of people who live together, small communities of people who live together, produce their food together, communities of people who know each other, who can support each other, who understand each other's needs. Because this other way is leading to separation and a lot of pain, and people are just killing themselves. And also disease, which is also killing people. So that is what my work has dovetailed into. And that is why I love coming to Findhorn, because even being in this New Story Summit, I have learned a lot about how to take my own journey and my own story forward, and thinking about how I'm going to share it with a community that has not even started thinking about the new story. Or maybe has, I don't know, I'll find out. Yeah.